My dear friends, Captain Starsky here. Welcome to Koblenz. We have amazing weather, beautiful VMC in the Western Germany. And today we will take a short flight from Binningen, Koblenz to Singhofen, a tiny airstrip just east of Koblenz. And we will talk a bit more about these beautiful aircraft. And also I will talk a bit about VFR flights. I will share some of my tips and tricks that I utilize while flying VFR. So, a couple words about this airplane. This is Rans S6S Coyote 2, brought to you by Flyboy. Initially, this aircraft was introduced for Micrisift Flight Simulator 2020, and just a couple of weeks ago it was updated with native package for Micrisift Flight Simulator 2024, which means that all the features of Micrisift Flight Simulator 2024 are now available for this aircraft. For example, like performing pre-flight checks, walk around, you can remove pitot cover, you can remove chokes, you can also check the control surfaces. And one thing about this aircraft that makes it so special, because we are looking at 100% VFR aircraft, despite being extremely simple, this little airplane is extremely rich in features. For example, here on the port side of this aircraft, we have this tiny hatch which contains cooler. We can use it to actually check the amount of cooler stored in the engine, because you can easily run out of cooler. This feature is simulated here with this add-on. And you can check the amount of cooler you have. Also, on the starboard side, you have an oil hatch, and this is how you perform an oil check in this aircraft. We gotta open the hatch, we gotta open the oil cap, and before checking the oil, we gotta rotate propeller until we hear the sound of oil actually coming into the compartment. Alright, you heard the sound as if someone flushed the water in the toilet, and now we can check out the stick, and we can see that we have plenty of oil in the engine, so we can put it back. And basically this is how you perform the oil check in this aircraft. This is exactly how it works in the real life with actual Rotax engine. Absolutely beautiful feature, absolutely beautifully modeled here in this aircraft. One of the features that not a lot of people know about is that if you add more than 31 pounds of weight into the rear cargo compartment, when you click on this triangular door, immediately the fuel canister emerges, and you can actually use this fuel canister to refuel your aircraft during your flight. Of course, when you're parked on the ground. I will not be showing you today how exactly this feature works, because in order to learn it, you gotta do something extremely inconvenient, which is basically reading the manual for this aircraft that is available out there. So we will hide the fuel canister back. Of course, you can check out the control surfaces. Everything is modeled here. All the features of Micrisift Flight Simulator 2024, the walk-around features are included. So, after checking the control surfaces, let's jump straight into the cockpit. inside the cockpit, you can see these absolutely beautifully modeled interior of Rans S6S. Everything works, everything's clickable. The sunscreen is also functional. Here you can find this glove box, and of course, you can change this glove box to a GPS, but I use it in a different way because when you click on it, you can see this map inside of this box, and when you click on the map, you can actually see your flight plan. In this case, it's my flight plan. So I edited this map in a stupid image editor. You can do it as well. You can see my flight plan, my route, my waypoints, and of course, you can see the flight log that I will be using during this flight. So we are taking off at Winningen Koblenz. We are going to fly towards the town of Landstein, and we're going to follow the river to the town of Nassau. And from there, we're going to turn heading 137 towards Sinkhofen, a tiny uncontrolled airfield. Let us close the box. We have an engine choke right here. Let's turn on the battery. Let's introduce fuel. And before we start the aircraft, let me also show you the checklist that is included over here in this pocket. So, besides all the ordinary procedures for this aircraft, like before engine start, before takeoff, landing, shutdown, and everything else, on the second page you can see all the preferences, so you can turn on the engine realism or off. You can also turn the equipment. You can select whether you prefer this glove box with a paper map inside or you want a GPS. You can also turn this autopilot on or off. I prefer to use it, because sometimes it's necessary to unload your mind for other necessary things like planning or observing the area. So now we can start the aircraft. Let's turn on the engine. We have already introduced fuel, and before we do anything else, let's turn on the nav lights and shout the magic words "clear prop" and turn on the ignition. All right, now we can turn off the choke. We can turn on the transponder as well as our avionics. Let's dial 122.655. Copland's ground, experimental Rans Delta Echo Tango Tango Foxtrot. Request taxi to the active runway for the eastbound VFR departure.
Experimental Rans Tango Tango Foxtrot, runway 6, QNH 1016.
QNH 1016 taxi into runway 06. Experimental Rans Delta Echo Tango Tango Foxtrot.
Climbing 10,000 feet, initial 4 more kilo. Climbing 50100, 4 more kilo.
And now basically, I'm sorry. And now, basically, we can taxi to runway 06. Today we will have just a tiny crosswind, which of course will not be a problem for this aircraft. Okay, we are pretty much ready to take off. Let's roll. Okay, flaps up. Heading 105. And in about 2 minutes, we will reach the launch time. We will decrease the altitude just a bit, and we will follow the river until we reach the town of Nassau. I love this scenery. It's a default scenery, not Rhine-Westphalia. I believe they improved this one in some of the world updates that are now available for Micrisift Flight Simulator 2024. I enjoy this location. There we can see the radio tower. Of course, we gotta keep such things in sight because we don't wanna inadvertently crash into them. And there is this town that we were talking about. We can see the river. So here we can pull back our throttle just a bit and decrease our altitude. So from here we will follow the river. I think it will take a bit more time than 6 minutes, probably something like 7, maybe 8, until we reach the town of Nassau, and then we will turn heading 137 towards the Zinkhofen. Check out the quality of this model. Check out those welding seams on this aircraft. It's absolutely amazing. Such a pleasure to see it finally available as a native package for 2024. This is amazing. One of my favorite aircraft that I use for VFR flights. These beautiful doors allow the pilot to see everything 180 degrees. So I'm referring to my map. I know exactly where I am at this point, or approximately. Amazing, amazing scenery here. You can see that tiny house on the top of the hill over there. The coolest thing about this is that I can actually visit this place in the real life. Alright, so according to my map, we are overflying the town of Zinkhofen, which means that the airfield must be just behind it. I think that I am looking at it right now. Let's check out the weather situation, because this airfield is uncontrolled, so I think that we should perform an overflight over this airfield. hoping to see the sock. Which unfortunately I don't really see here. Ah, there it is. Alright, I think that we can join this downwind and basically land over here with just a slight crosswind coming from the right. So we can use one notch of flaps. We can also turn on the landing lights. Again, this aircraft is an absolute joy to fly low and slow, to make tight circuits in the pattern. The visibility is absolutely astonishing. Let's add another notch of flaps and decelerate. You know, my friends, I think that Flyboy did an amazing job with this aircraft. We can hide our map, we don't need it anymore. And I think that we can park somewhere next to the sock and call it a day. Parking brake set, lights off, avionics off, fuel off, ignition off, and battery set to off. This aircraft is available in several versions. You have a tail dragger, you have a tricycle gear configuration, but of course we're flying tail draggers simply because they're so sexy. And with that, my dear friends, I will conclude today's review. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Captain Starsky, and as always, be safe.